What is the problem? Do I look like a nutter? Maybe it's me aftershave.
Well, I'm glad you came along when you did, although I have to say, this isn't quite what I was expecting. What on earth is it?
It's a Toyota Crown, straight from the streets of Tokyo.
What year is this thing? It looks about mid-70s, I'd say.
It looks a little bit dated, but in fact it's a 92. Plenty chrome on there, on the body, on the bumpers.
It's like an old Zodiac or Zephyr.
They're still making it. They make 2,500 of these, purely for the taxi trade.
In Tokyo, the number of people on the streets wearing masks means there's either terrible pollution or they really like Michael Jackson. Anyhow, city regulations require all cabs to run on propane.
Well, I'll tell you what, I like these antimacassars on the seats. I think they're a nice touch. It kind of reminds me of being in my granny's front parlour.
Yeah, I believe the Japanese men still wear Brill cream.
Well, I don't. You're all right on that count.
Anyway, this is as far as I go, mate.
What?
I think you'd better get out of here. I have another job on.
All right. Right, well.
Typical. You ring for a taxi and it turns up late. 60 years late.
Are you, is this a taxi?
Yeah.
Great. Oh, yes, this is very agreeable, much more me, I think. It's all very upstairs, downstairs, this, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a 1935 Austin Abbey 12 taxi cab, operated through London during the war up to mid-1950s. The total cost in 1935 was about £395. For that kind of money, you could buy a decent house in London.
I've noticed that I get a very good deal in the back of here. It's all polished wood and lovely deep button leather, but you're not quite so well accommodated in the front, are you?
Well, you're paying for it.
How much am I paying? Let me have a look at the meter. 2 and 6 already, good grief. Do they always have meters in taxis?
Yeah, when they brought out the first motorised taxi cabs, that's when they introduced the taximeters.
I have a confession. Unlike most taxi drivers who know absolutely everything about absolutely everything, I know nothing about taxis.
Yeah, I know a man who knows all about taxis. In fact, he lives here.
Does he? Right.
And he's got an amazing private collection of cabs.
I know you. You've been having me on. You're going to tell me all about taxis then, are you?
Come in, have a look around.
All right.
They paved paradise, put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot.
Ray, where does this passion for taxis come from?
I was brought up, from a youngster within the cab trade, and I can remember, from the age of 14, sitting in my father's FX3, being driven to school, and I helped to restore it. And from then on, I just got more deeply and deeply involved, and, as you get more involved, you want to go farther back. My favourite is probably a 35 Austin, which I found about 18 years ago. It's probably the most original example of a pre-war cab in existence. A lot of them are broken for spares, and that's a sad thing. Others fell into the hands of students. They ended up on farms, on derelict land. Some went abroad with American GIs.
But there's a taxi that I've always wanted to drive. Do you have a checker?
I think we've got one tucked away in a corner. You'll have to search around and find it.
Oh, yes. You could forget your Mustangs and Macs, your Corvettes and Cadillacs. This, a Checker cab made by the Checker Motor Corporation of Kalamazoo, Michigan, is surely the ultimate wheeled icon of Americana. To beat it, I reckon you'd have to stick the Statue of Liberty on roller skates. I've always wanted to drive one, and now that I have, I can tell you what it's like. It's like driving a big yellow tank. The thing weighs 3 tons and has a 4-litre V6, which means it isn't exactly nippy. But it has a strange habit of arriving in places first. I mean, would you pull out on one of these? It's straight out of the movies. There's a sticker in the back saying, passengers are asked to refrain from screaming at the driver by order of the New York City Police Department.
You know, I think I've sorted out my small difficulty from this morning. From now on, catching a cab will be no trouble, because I'm going to keep this one. Yes, it only gets 8 miles to the gallon, but it makes me feel like Robert De Niro.
Uh-oh,